My name is Daniel Loza, also known as Loony, and I run an SMG as well as I am the IGL for Seattle.
Loony, though, aggressive as always, is able to find the first. Might have the help for the second kill, doesn't even need it, gets him himself. Diamond Con, head ripped off.
I grew up in Venice, California, out there by the beach, and lots of gang violence, going to public schools, very gang related and things like that. So you can, if you mess with like the wrong crowd, you can get into a lot of trouble. So video games helped me stay out of that mess. I grew up with two older brothers. One was born in 85, one 87, and I'm 93. Growing up, I mean, they were very supportive. I wouldn't say they bullied me, but you know, they would gang up on me a couple times and things like that. But it also created a very very competitive atmosphere in our house with just the simplest things like who's faster, who's stronger, who's more athletic. And when you started to add video games into the mix, that's where I really got more competitive. Odd 4, I actually just ran into a random kid in a public match. That's kind of how it happened back then. And he told me about game battles. He's just like, yeah, like you're very good. You should start playing people at like your skill level with and such and such. It's very fun. So I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm competitive, obviously growing up in a household. And I kind of carried in through World at War. World at War, I kind of like just played pubs, and then Modern Warfare 2 came out. And that's kind of where I deep dove into competitive COD. You know, I got into competitive like towards the late of MW2, and the scene was just different. I mean, it was dominated by GB forums, and then it was kind of the same thing, just running into random people in pubs or now the GB forums to start like forming a team and trying to get noticed by pros. So it wasn't until Modern Warfare 3 where I grinded as well, and that was my start of my freshman year of college. Pretty sure I was so late on registration just because, again, I was just so hooked into gaming. I only took 2 classes my freshman year. I just grinded away Modern Warfare 3. So I got that pro recognition, which again is different nowadays, obviously, with the CDO. And yeah, so Rise began in Ghost. Kareem Horsley, who's obviously the owner, alongside Roger Saffel, he used to be a competitor himself. He had his own team, and we ran into him in a regionals qualifier, which is pretty much, it was the online portion to get to regionals. So we played him in the online portion, and we had trimmed him before and everything, and I think we went up 2-1 in the map count. It was best of 5, and his teammate lagged out, and it was like getting held offline, or we easily could have forfeited them. We didn't want to earn a spot at regionals that way. We're like, if we can't beat this team, we don't deserve to be at regionals. Like, we're just gonna go there and get smoked anyways. Like, we want to actually earn our spot. So after it, we actually went to a game 5, beat them, and we qualified, and we were orgless. He reached out to us, and because of that sportsmanship we showed him and the respect we showed him, he offered us to just he'll quit and we'll play under Rise. And I stayed, I think, till the rest of Ghost. I left in AW, and then I returned in Black Ops 3. So then he picked me up back in Black Ops 3 after I got dropped from Envy. And that's kind of where I kickstarted my career mostly. Just continued under Rise until Black Ops 4. I was under that banner for, I think it's still the longest I've been under a team. Going into Black Ops 4, obviously, Rise departed Call of Duty. So it was kind of time for me to find a new home. Splice ended up being that home. And Black Ops 4 season was great. I had to start at least, and then it kind of took a turn for the worse. And then going into CDL and franchising, because Overactive Media is Splice or whatever the investment group. Kind of my off season was very like a roller coaster, pretty much. A lot of players that would have wanted a team with me apparently got word that I was going to get matched regardless. So it was kind of hard to find teammates, and it was pretty apparent that I was going to have to build on Toronto again. Ended up, like I said, having a roller coaster. I was actually on vacation, and most of my vacation was just being on the phone with Marty. Toronto took the route of signing 10 players and just throwing us in the mix. And ultimately, it obviously, I got benched, and I was benched for the entire season pretty much. I played at Minnesota Open event, I played at London, and then Atlanta, and then I was benched. So Toronto just didn't feel like family to me. It was more like you're just an employee, and irreplaceable type thing. It was one of the worst years of my life mentally for sure. But realistically, Toronto could have signed me again. But the first thing I did, first opportunity given, I told them, listen, I don't want to be here. Just plain and simple. And thankfully, they respected that and told me I was going to be able to just be a free agent.
That Seattle squad is going to be really dangerous.
Make some noise for the Seattle Surge!
There was talks about during the MW season of joining Seattle or getting like a trade potential when I was on Toronto. But there was already that line of communication open. So for me, it was kind of like an easy message to send. Once I knew I was a complete free agent, I hit up Octane. I was like, hey, I'm available. Just make sure my name's written down when you guys discuss rosters. Like I said, he was very transparent. He's like, yep, you're on the list. I'll let you know if like anything's final with you being on the roster. Another person I talked to, obviously, because he was also benched, was Gunless. He got benched on the Huntsman. So that was kind of an easy thing as well. We linked up in during the season. Like, did we have to bring it back? Like, people really forgot, you know, what we did together. And then that's when Pristini came into the mix. No-brainer. Preston's obviously a world champion, selfless player like me who can kill. Our roster was kind of formed pretty quick. The biggest difference I see is Octane. I picked him up on NV and AW, and that was first real shot at a pro team. Prior, he was on prof with Aches, and he was just young, right? Young kid. He wouldn't be able to take the criticism. I am harsh at giving criticism, so it's partially my fault as well. But it was just stubbornness, child, you know, and he'll admit to this day. But now teaming with him now, he just has a fresh mind and just a mature mind, like you said, where nowadays he asks me if he did something wrong or if he made the right play. Like, it's just much easier. The communication's there, and I knew it would be like that coming into the year because of communication in the off season. Like I said, Gunless and his past and my past and Preston's past, I just don't think a lot of people really like us. So it stems from that. I'm not saying we don't have supporters we do have. Love them, love and appreciate them. I kind of think that's why we're slept on.